everyone, welcome to my review of Doom. This game was released in 1993, originally on the PC. It's one of the very first first-person shooters, and it's available for you to play on the Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network, pretty much everywhere. So I'm here to show you whether or not this game is worth purchasing. So without further ado, let's fire up the Xbox Live Arcade and see what this game is all about.
Oh, Doom. So violent, so scary, so primitive, so aged. This game is made by a company called id. These guys have released all sorts of games, but their most famous ones are Wolfenstein, Quake, and of course, Doom. This franchise got introduced to me in I want to say around 97 or 98. My dad was playing one of the spin-off titles known as Final Doom. So this was the game that I started on, and I gotta say, it scared the living shit out of me. Nowadays, this franchise really isn't that scary, but there might be a couple times where the other one disappears altogether, with something that's evil pouring out of the gateway that's killing or possessing all the UAC personnel. Responding to a frantic distress call from the overrun scientists, the Martian Marine unit is sent to Phobos, the moon that's still standing, to investigate. Upon arriving, Doom Guy is left to guard the perimeter with nothing but a pistol while the rest of the team investigates. He hears assorted radio messages, gunfire, and screams, all followed by silence, which kicks off the first episode of Doom called Knee Deep in the Dead. In this episode, Doom Guy is the last man standing, and the only way for him to get off of Phobos is to travel to each location and fight through the onslaught of demonic enemies that it holds. He succeeds in finding the portal to transfer him off Phobos. However, instead of transporting him back to Mars, he gets transported to Deimos, the second moon that mysteriously disappeared when the onslaught began. This kicks off the second episode, Shores of Hell. In this episode, Doom Guy must travel through all the locations of Deimos, taking on the onslaught of demons once again, and even his pet rabbit Daisy. The demons had successfully managed to invade Earth. This kicks off the events of Doom 2, Hell on Earth. But that's a review for another time.
Well, that covers the story. As you can see, it's a little bit more intricate than the other classic games I've reviewed so far. My only real complaint, though, is that you have to look it up to understand what it is. But now that we got that out of the way, let's get on with the gameplay.
Alright, compared to the first-person shooters we have nowadays, the gameplay on here is really not that spectacular. But think back to the early 90s when first-person shooters were still a new thing. id, the company that made this game and all the others I mentioned earlier, single-handedly made first-person shooters cool. And it's hard to harp on this game because it's so old. And here's how it works. Once again, you control as Doom Guy, and your mission is to kill as many demons coming out of hell as you possibly can. But since you start with a pistol, you need to be procuring any weapons and ammo that you find. Your weapons vary from a shotgun, a chain gun, a rocket launcher, a plasma gun, a chainsaw, more power-up that'll give you 100% health on top of what you already have. The max is 200%. All in all, the power-ups are very useful. If you're playing on a higher difficulty setting, you'll be hoping that these power-ups are behind the secret doors that the game will occasionally throw at you. Now, the secret rooms are just that, secret. But some of them are easier to spot than others. Some of them are just a simple matter of finding a discolored wall, and others you have to step in a specific spot to have an elevator get lowered. And sometimes the secret rooms don't even have power-ups in it. Sometimes it just has a really powerful demon that you now have to kill. So make sure you're opening secret doors with caution. And as far as enemy variety is concerned, I think it's pretty good here. Some demons look more menacing than others, but none of them have a special way of taking them down. All you have to do is just keep shooting and shooting and shooting until they finally decide that they've had enough. And all of them are completely original. None of them are shamelessly recolored like they are in later games in the franchise. As far as control is concerned, Doom Guy controls pretty well. He moves in 8 directions, but just like Mega Man, he can only shoot directly in front of him.
And good. But I don't feel like the game is aged too well. Just like Sonic, this game's been ported so many times and you can find it anywhere. It ages the game in a negative way. So with its primitive graphics, its okay gameplay, and its outstanding soundtrack, I've come to the overall score of a 5 out of 10. This game is something that you play when you're feeling nostalgic, but there's so many other first-person shooters out there that do the genre better justice. But with all that out of the way, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, give me a like, a share, and a subscribe. Also, like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. The links are in the description below. Tune in for my next video. I'm going to be reviewing Mega Man for the Nintendo Entertainment System. We'll see you there. But in the meantime, you guys have a great night, and take care. everyone, welcome to my review of Mega Man for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This game was released in 1987, before I was even born, and not once have I ever played this game or any other Mega Man game in the entire franchise. So I'm here to see what this game is all about. It's available for you to purchase on the Virtual Console for only $5. So without further ado, let's begin.
So like I said, I've never once played a Mega Man game my entire life, and I gotta say, I've been missing out. Despite its simplistic gameplay and its sheer age, I can honestly say that I had a lot of fun playing through this. Just like any other game, it's got its fair share of flaws, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, let's start with the story. And once again, the plot is not told in the game, so I'm gonna have to rely on Google to figure out what it is, to try and take over the world. Rock, containing a strong sense of justice, requests that Dr. Light transforms him into a battle robot, creating Mega Man, champion of justice and defender of peace. From there, Mega Man made it his mission to destroy the once friendly robot masters and to stop Dr. Wily from taking over the world. Mega Man finally succeeds in defeating all the robot masters and finally Dr. Wily himself. And with him defeated, you would think that Mega Man would use this chance to take him into custody. Well, you thought wrong. Mega Man just leaves him. Yeah, just leaves. And it's never stated what Mega Man even says to Wily while he's just laying there on the floor groveling at his feet. So I'm gonna assume it's gonna be like this. Hey man, I'm sorry, that was a wrong thing to do, don't hurt me, okay? You mean it? You're truly sorry? Yeah man, I'm truly sorry. Okay, bye. I sure showed that guy. Yeah!
Well, and that covers the story. It's short, sweet, and to the point, and it's not very intricate either. But considering that this is the first
is on the internet. But think back to the late 80s and early 90s when the internet wasn't really a thing yet. You had to rely on your friends to give you advice, or just look it up in Nintendo Power magazine. But anyway, once you defeat a robot master, you inherit its respective ability. Now, some of these abilities are more useful than others. I cannot recall a single time I used Bomb Man's ability unless I was facing Guts Man. And I never used Guts Man's ability unless I needed to open up a specific path or use it against Cut Man. Cut Man's ability I found a little bit more use out of, but since it goes out an arc, I didn't use it too much. I mainly just use it to defeat Elect Man, and Elect Man's ability is probably the most useful one in the game. It shoots in 3 directions and it one-shots pretty much just about every enemy. And of course it makes short work out of Iceman. And finally, Iceman's abilities freeze enemies and certain obstacles in their tracks, and it's also used as a weakness against Fireman. Which is kind of weird to me because, you know, fire kind of melts ice, just saying. And lastly, Flame Man's ability is pretty useful, but surprisingly, I never used it unless I was facing against Dr. Wily. You shoot a little fireball and then a rotating shield will surround Mega Man to protect him from airborne enemies. And on top of all those robot check. Platforming sections with a shitload of pitfalls? Check. Deceptively hard enemies to kill? Check. And let's not forget deaths via knockback. Oh yeah, this game has it all, everybody. I'm serious, there will be times where you'll want to pull your hair right out of your head due to shitty platforming. I mean, look at this right here. Fuck! And then there's these bouncing douchebags that appear at the most inopportune times. You'd think they'd be pretty easy to kill since it's so big, but they're not. They jump in a very strange pattern, and if they hit you, you are far past fucked. Shit! And I'm seriously not joking about this difficulty. There will be times where you're going to want to throw your controller through the window. I mean, look at this! Fuck! 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 Shit! Fuck! You son of a bitch! Eat my shit! But you know what? None of that stuff compares to this asshole right here, the Yellow Devil. He hits hard, he takes a lot of damage, and you can only hit him once, maybe twice if you're lucky before he shifts to the other side of the screen and fucks you up even more. God damn it! Dude, seriously, fuck this thing. It's impossible. How the hell am I supposed to beat this when he moves like that? Oh, fuck. Now I paused the game. What the? Did he just take extra damage? Whoa, kick ass! I wish I'd known that before. If you just push the pause button over and over again, it'll kill off the Yellow Devil in seconds. That's fucking awesome. Alright, I'm not gonna bullshit you guys. I knew about this the entire time. This is known as the pause glitch. How it works is you select the elect beam, shoot it at the boss's weak spot, and match the pause button over and over again until the boss... Yeah, call me a cheater if you want, but I can honestly say that I tried to take these guys on in a fair fight, and it just wasn't working. So I said, fuck it. But in all seriousness, yeah, the game is pretty damn hard. but it's definitely not the hardest game you'll ever play. To be honest, Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link is a lot harder than this game. There are pretty cheap deaths to suffer throughout the entire playthrough, but I wouldn't consider any of it to be unfair. And to compensate for it, the game can be pretty generous with its pickups. Enemies can drop all sorts of things, whether it's ammo, health, or even an extra life. But bear in mind, it doesn't happen very often, and if it does, it's usually something that'll just boost up your useless score. Which is another thing I want to mention. You don't get any extra lives if you reach a certain score. It's not a huge deal, but I just figured I'd mention it. So aside from the difficulty, I have to say the game as a whole is pretty damn good. The graphics could have been better, but I'm not going to harp on it too bad because it is an early NES game. Occasionally the game will suffer from sprite flickering. It's not a huge deal, but it's definitely annoying when it happens. And I must
Mega Man game, and I do not regret my purchase. So if you have a Wii U, you need to go to the Virtual Console right now and give Nintendo $5 for this game. It's worth every penny. But just know that if you do, you're probably going to want to bring some Rogaine. You're definitely going to need it. But with all that out of the way, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, give me a like, a share, and a subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. The links are in the description below. Tune in for my next video. I want to let you guys know I'm going to go back to Sonic, but I'm not going to tell you guys what game it is, so you're just going to have to wait and find out to see what it is. But until that video comes out, you guys have a great night, and take care. What's up, YouTube? Honest Biggums here, and if you've been following this channel for a while, you should already know this is about the time that I do a newly released game review. And to be completely honest, guys, there isn't any new releases out right now that I really want to review. There will be in the future, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to go ahead and use this as my time to do my very first,
if not the first, video game reviewer here on YouTube. And he's just one of several people that inspired me to do what I do here on YouTube. The difference is, though, he's the first one I subscribed to. And when I found out this game was finally coming out, I got super excited. But I got also super disappointed because I have a Mac and I couldn't play it from Steam. So unfortunately, I had to wait until it came out on the Wii. Why this game came out on the Wii, I really could not tell you. And I say that because this game is full of a lot of suggestive themes. I can only imagine how much of a hard time Screwattack had to convince Nintendo to put this game on the eShop. But is the game good and worth purchasing? Well, folks, that's what we're here to find out. And as always, guys, let's start with the plot. The angry video game nerd and his friends were playing a shitty video game when suddenly, all of his friends got zapped into the TV with the nerd barely escaping to the basement. But Honor manages to come out of the TV and grab him by the balls and pull him inside anyway. The reasons for all the characters getting pulled into the TV is unknown, but they get pulled into what's called Game World, where the nerd is greeted by at it like that, it does its job really well. Most of the bosses and enemies you encounter in the game are all from the nerd show. And not only that, but there are cameos all over the place. The game wants you to find them all, and honestly, I haven't done that yet. Not because I don't want to, but just because there's so many of them. This game is definitely designed to take you back to the past, to play the shitty games that suck ass. It was purposefully designed to be hard as shit, no matter what difficulty setting you choose. You see that right there? That's the total number of times I died playing through this game for the first time. 434. And the funny thing is, that was on easy mode. And this is about the time that I start raging about how hard the game is. But just like with the story, I can't do that either. The game was purposefully designed to be like that. Now don't get me wrong, there were times where I was getting pretty pissed off at the deaths I was suffering, but at the same time I just laughed about it because games were like this on accident in the past. This game just has a special charm to it that makes you want to keep on playing despite the difficulty. There wasn't a single time I felt like I needed to rage quit. And really,